I tried different areas, like I had worked with tech startups and things like that, but nothing was really clicking. And with Mavyn, just something started happening. I started taking more of women business owners and founders, and it clicked. It just felt like my lane. I was like, oh, this is it. And and that's sort of how it happened.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset, everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer. Be sure to head over to clicksandbricksacademy.com so you can access all the resources to start improving your sales today.
Today we're talking with Nicole from Mavyn. She helps small businesses, entrepreneurs, get from where they're currently at to where they want to be in life. How are you doing today, Nicole?
Good. How are you doing, Ken?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what it is that Mavyn does?
Sure. So Mavyn, I started Mavyn last year. Before that, I had a one-woman creative shop for 13 years. And what I realized over that time was that there was more and more demand for the strategic side of what I was doing, as opposed to the execution. And the shift sort of happened organically, and we started last year helping women business owners build, launch, and grow by mastering their marketing.
Fantastic. So, and when you say mastering your marketing, is that specifically online marketing or is that all things marketing?
All things marketing.
So we're talking
Because
billboards, online, Facebook, TV ads, radio ads, all of those things encompassed into one.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're not looking at it as I mean, sure, you can look at things that, by channel, but if you're not optimizing the whole ecosystem of how everything's working together, then you're not going to get the maximum results. In some cases, there might not be the budget to do some of those, splash like billboards and whatever, but and that's okay. You start wherever you're at, but if there's a budget for it, sure, you want to be coordinating offline and online. You want to have content strategy that sort of maps to your email strategy and so on.
Fantastic. So did you say you started Mavyn last year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So before that, you were in a corporate job?
No, before that, I was self-employed for 13 years. And
Okay.
then before that, I was in a corporate job.
So self-employed for 13 years. And what were you doing for those 13 years?
It was a creative one-woman shop. So that's really, you name it, design, marketing, content, UX, UI, just
Okay.
anything that would normally be in a creative wheelhouse. Like if you had a creative services department in your company, that's what I was handling.
So you were building websites, making flyers, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
But you didn't have a very specific focus, and Mavyn helped you get that focus down on what you're going to be doing and who your target audience is.
Exactly. I think I felt like it was really time. It sort of grew organically. I felt like it was time to focus. In my previous business, I tried different areas, like I had worked with tech startups and things like that, but nothing was really clicking. And with Mavyn, just something started happening. I started taking more of women business owners and founders, and it clicked. It just felt like my lane. I was like, oh, this is it. And that's sort of how it happened.
That's fantastic. So before that, though, so 13 years ago, you were in corporate job, and then you left that to be an entrepreneur, but almost like a solopreneur, right? Just on your own, almost an independent contractor, right? Which is a fine line. I mean, you're on your own. You might it's as entrepreneur as you can get, right? You don't have nobody's coming to help you at that point, right?
I mean, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the story of how you left your corporate job and now you're on your own, and you don't have any, leash that says, hey, you have to be here at 9 a.m, but you also don't have any parachutes that say, hey, I'm going to pay you when you're sick.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy. So I've been working since I was 17. I always had jobs, all different kinds of jobs. And I just, basically I had never not worked in my young adult life. And I was an in-house designer for a major publisher for 7.5 years. And I just, I wanted more. I kind of hit a glass ceiling, And prior to that, I'd been at a tech startup in the early 90s. So I knew that things could be more fast paced. I felt like the publishing industry was a little technologically behind. I was just restless. And it was the first time I ever quit a job without a safety net. I just quit without anything lined up. And within 2 weeks, I started getting work.
Fantastic.
I just hustled. There's no other way to say it. I hustled. I treated it like my 9 to 5 in the sense that, okay, I'm going to get up at the same time in the morning or earlier as I always did. I'm going to have my business hours. I'm going to treat this like a business. What's my break even? What kind of clients am I going to go after? What should my client mix be? Who are going to be my bread and butter clients? How am I going to do my pricing? Is it going to be retainer based, project based, whatever? I approached it like a business. And I didn't want every quote unquote freelancer I spoke to always talked about the feast or famine cycle. And I didn't want that. I really wanted a pipeline. And I knew that to get that, I had to do that business development piece. It wasn't going to happen by itself.
Right. Absolutely. And today you started 13 years ago on Photoshop, or you can make really nice presentations. Building that pipeline today has never been easier. You can do it with Upwork. You can literally go make a profile on Upwork and list your talents, and you'll start getting jobs within a couple of days, right? Fiverr's another really great place that you can go and just tell people about the things that you can do, even if you think that they're silly. I mean, if you can make coupons inside a Word document, you'll probably get jobs on Fiverr. Right? There's all kinds of work. This work on demand world that we have today is really, really cool for people that want to start doing their own thing on the side. Right? I think it's a fantastic place that we live in today. And I congratulate you for taking that jump. It's scary, right? It's probably one of the more scary things you do in life.
It's weird because at the time I was working really hard in my in-house job, and I kept coming home and saying to my husband, if I'm going to work this hard, I might as well work for myself. And I knew from that early experience at the tech nonprofit, I knew what I was capable of, sort of. I had been an intern in their program, and then the following year I was co-managing their program. I doubled its size. I created a revenue stream for it. I got grant funding. Like, I knew that if I was given the reins, I could run, So, and it's weird because I always used to say, if the corporate job had given me more of the flexibility and the upward mobility that I wanted, I probably would still be there.
Right.
So,
absolutely. You didn't leave you left because you wanted more opportunity. You wanted to run.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And opportunity is one of the things that I value. I put really, really high on my value list of I want as much opportunity as I can get, and then choose on which one I want to execute on. Although sometimes that's a big problem for me. And we talked about this a little bit before the show. For years, I grew up, rough and tumble. I've been working since I was 11 years old at a restaurant called Baker's. I was doing dishes and bussing tables for 95 cents an hour back in the 80s. So I'm no stranger to hard work and no stranger to poverty. But what that gave me was this underdog syndrome, to where I got this weird thing in my head to where I always wanted to work on the hard things. Some people call it the fireman syndrome, right? Where they're always looking for the most broken thing to fix, which isn't always the most profitable thing to work on. And we had a little bit of talk, and you've got some mantras and sayings about that kind of mentality as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally relate too, because sometimes the hardest problems, they seem like the most challenging, right? They seem sort of fun for the brain, but they're not necessarily great for your pocket. I'd say the two things that I go to when I'm in that sort of mindset is look for the low-hanging fruit. And what that means is what's immediately actionable right now. What is the thing, with the path of least resistance? So for example, let's say you're trying to network let's say you're trying to do a pivot. You have a business and you want to pivot from B2B to B2C, or B2C rather to B2B. before you just start making a blind pitch list or a cold pitch list, who do you already have in your network? Who make the warm pitch list first? You know, that's going to be your priority, because 10 warm leads or targets are worth way more than 20 or 50 cold ones potentially, you know. So that's an example of low-hanging fruit. And the other one I like to go by is run your own race. It's really easy to look at what other people are doing and switch gears and lose focus, you know, just chase the new shiny object because you see someone else doing it, whether that's TikTok or, you know, Facebook ads, or I'm going to become an Amazon reseller, whatever. There's always, you know, crypto, there's always something new that you can chase or see other people succeeding at. It's really important to go at the pace that works for you and your business. What matches the stage of business you're at? If your website isn't set up to convert, does it make sense to pay thousands of dollars for digital ads? Probably not, because even if you get the traffic, your site's not ready to convert it. So those are sort of core principles that work. You know, I've used them when I'm embedded as an embedded consultant in big companies, and I've used them one-on-one with small business owners. They're just tried and true.
Fantastic. So the low-hanging fruit, right? So I'm going to go back and tell a story from when I was a kid. I've always wanted to work and you know, I wanted to change my life, basically, you know, and get out of what I was living in. So when I don't know, I'm 16 or 17 years old, and I got this job selling cologne and perfume, and I would go door to door, and I would hustle people at gas stations to buy the perfume, right? It was a miserable job. And, you know, they really touted this friends and family network stuff, right? Sell to your friends and family. And I hated that, right? I could not sell to my friends and family. But I think what Nicole's talking about here is don't sell to your friends and family on your network. Talk to them about what you're doing, right? Don't try to close that sale with friends and family. Just go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you know anybody that might be interested in this, right? Don't try to hard close your friends and family. It's never going to work out, and it's going to put you in awkward positions potentially, and it potentially could ruin a relationship, right? Yeah. Absolutely. So I really, that low-hanging fruit on the friends and family side, when it's selling them, I think the narrative is just wrong on try to sell to your friends and family. I think some insurance brokers kind of use that mentality as well. In some other industries, don't hard sell your family. Tell them what you're doing. Communicate with them. They will help you if your vision is in line with theirs.
I think, right? Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think especially for startup founders, a lot of people like to do the friends and family first round fundraise, and that can work, that can be viable. But I think it's totally what you're saying. It's not a hard sell. It's, here's what I'm doing. Let me know if you're interested. What do you think? Is this something you'd be interested in? I mean, phrase it in such a way that you're not putting them on the spot. Let them opt in. Right?
Almost make it like, I don't think this is for you. Like, if you want in, you got to like really commit to tell me that you want in. Cause I don't want to ever be in a position to where I feel later, if things go the wrong way, that I forced you into this position. So exactly. I think those are important things. And I know that, you know, I probably sold friends and family stuff that they didn't want, and they threw it away as soon as I turned around. But such is life, and we keep on moving forward. Fantastic. So just moving on really quickly, do you have any offers that you would like to share with the audience? If they wanted to work with you, how would they get in contact with you and get started?
Sure, absolutely. So you can book a free consultation at hellomavyn.com, and it's Hello Mavyn with a Y, so HELLOMAVYN.com. And also, if they're interested in any of the discovery and review packages, which are my smaller packages, I'd give the listeners 10% off.
Fantastic. So free consultation, that would be just, hey, will we work well together?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, you know, it's 30 minutes. So a lot of times, one entrepreneur said she couldn't believe how much we accomplished in 30 minutes. If they have a specific business challenge on deck, we can talk about it and triage it right on the call, and they'll walk away from a strategy session, basically.
Fantastic. And 30-minute strategy sessions can absolutely change the business for a very long time if you if you're just missing the wrong piece, right? This is a big recipe, and everybody's cake comes out a little bit different, right? And that's okay. So fantastic. All right, if now you made that journey from corporate America to solopreneurship, now you're running the company, and there's a lot of people, specifically women, that are in that position right now, and they have a corporate job, and they're thinking about, man, if I'm going to work this hard for somebody else, might as well do it for myself. What's the one tip that you would give that woman or man, for that matter, that was looking at making that transition? What's the first thing that they should do?
Make sure there's a market, and there's plenty of ways to test that. Get a couple of projects under your belt, do them as side hustles, do them even, I wouldn't say do them on a volunteer basis necessarily, unless you're not experienced in that area, because you want to see if this is something that you can get paid for. So, the only time I would say do it for free or for a discounted price is if you haven't done it before. But if it's something that you already do in corporate America, try and get some side gigs and see how they go. See if you can get enough to meet that threshold of your overhead, your expenses, beyond the break even. Really make sure that the margin is there.
Right. So I've got another interesting little tidbit. I had a mentor once tell me, I had an idea, and he says, okay, go ahead and make it and give 10 of them away. And if nobody wants 10 for free, you're not going to be able to sell it. Right. And then I totally agreed with that mentality at that moment. But what I've found since then is that if I'm trying to give something away, the perceived value, if they have to do anything at all to get it, they don't perceive it as valuable at all. And I'm sure there's a whole lot of ebbs and flows there and a whole lot of nuance in that. Do you have an opinion? I know you said don't give it away unless you haven't done it before. And, doing stuff for free as a beta to learn is fantastic. But do you have any insight on that perceived value when you are giving it away at no charge?
I think, when I say don't give it away for free, you should evaluate what you want to get out of it, right? So it's not free. Like, let's say it's your first time doing it. It's not free if you're using it as a learning experience, right? Because you're still getting something out of it. But I do think, in regards to what your mentor said, there's a psychology to a consumer psychology and to this. And basically, if you're right, if you give it away for free, for the most part, it makes it really hard to charge for it later. It doesn't help you get a sense of your own worth in the market. And I think you really want to set yourself up for success by kind of creating a mindset that you have value, that what you're doing and what you're offering has value, whether it's a product or a service. And when you have to assign a number or a trade-off for what that value is, I think you become more in touch with it. It's just sort of.
Yes, absolutely. And it's hard to say, if I did struggle to give 10 away for free, I could have been trying to give them to the wrong audience. I could have been trying, they might not have been the right target. So I think you can get a lot of bad information that way, and maybe even destroy your own psyche before you even try to sell it. Well, I can't even give it away. I'll never be able to sell it for $1,000, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think you got to look at that case by case, right? And then what it is that you're doing, what does it cost you to actually turn it over, and all of those things. But if you are going to give it away, my number one piece of advice there is give it to somebody that's going to chatter about it, right? Give it to some kind of influencer on LinkedIn, somebody that has 5,000 or 10,000 followers, so that if you do give it to them, hopefully they talk about it to somebody else, right? And that's going to, then it's a marketing play. It's not even
but see, you're still getting something. You're getting promotion, right? You're getting promotion. Otherwise, you'd have to pay for. But you need to, and again, this is the kind of thing where it pays to do your research and understand your market. Like, does this influencer have the audience you want? Do they have millions of them? How are they going to promote you? What language are they going to use? Will they post it more than once? What percentage of their followers, if they have the data, tend to buy, right? Versus just tend to like stuff and keep scrolling. So, and you got to figure out what you want from it, right? So do you want just a hard kind of exchange where I'm doing this, product or service for a payment? Or do you want it for promotion, for visibility, for brand awareness, just to be associated? Let's say you have someone like musicians is a perfect example. They'll do collabs with other musicians. and it's not about necessarily the money, because a lot of times they're both established. It's about getting visibility in front of a new audience, right? It's like crossing over to a younger demographic or a different genre than they normally appeal to, right? I mean, another great example of that is Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart's collaboration. They have that cooking TV show, right?
Yes,
So
brilliant.
right. And they didn't need, Snoop and Martha are both doing fine. They didn't need to do that, right?
Exactly.
They're
Yes.
not. That was totally a play for each other's audiences.
Absolutely. And they both have huge audiences. So, and
Right.
they were able to cross them over, which is the most unlikely crossover
Yeah.
that there could be, right? Since Aerosmith and Run DMC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing. And the more unlikely, but it's also fun, right? Like that's another thing to look at when it's almost what people refer to as the X factor,
Yes.
that sort of fun, unexpected thing that almost isn't it's not really easy to replicate. It happens, a lot of times it just happens naturally.
Right. And I think those are the best ones when they happen organically and they kind of pop and like, oh, wow, that was amazing. So because if you try too hard, people can smell it. It just, unless you're a really good actor, which I am not. I don't think I am, at least. I've never tried really hard.
Yeah, no poker face here. No.
Fantastic. All right. So moving on, we'll put you on the spot. You're in the marketing and business development side of the world, and technology is changing right now, specifically right now at breakneck speeds. There's all kinds of fads, but are going to be really big staples in our future, this Web 3.0 world that we're talking about today. How do you see the future of technology, either something specific or kind of vague, changing your industry moving forward?
I think there's a couple of things. There's so many things, actually. We could have a whole nother hour about it. For one thing, I think AI is going to continue to just be a major player, almost in a stealth sort of way. I mean, there's AI to write sales scripts now. There's AI, AI in hiring, AI just sort of stepping in to where there used to be a lot of human touch, and figuring out how and where that works in your business, or how it changes your business, is going to be something to keep an eye on. I also think, things like NFTs and virtual and augmented reality, those are going to just keep getting bigger. And how that sort of changes the landscape, right? We're spending a lot of time in our virtual worlds. So how does that impact, how does that online, offline dynamic change? And what does that mean for people's businesses?
Yeah, I think, I try to look into the future a lot, and augmented reality is going to be 10 years out, I think, on a good side. The processing power to get in the frame this small just doesn't really work yet, but it will get there. So I think we've got a good 10-year run with virtual reality, which is going to be a lot of fun. But virtual reality isn't for everybody, right? Augmented reality is. Virtual reality, I think it's for the younger generation right now. Something about my eyes doesn't track right inside of that headset. It is a lot of fun, but I think we're gonna have a big split community. We're gonna have the VR and the non-VR people in our world, right? But I think it's gonna be as big as the Android Apple people, right? It's gonna be half of our country or half of our world is gonna be pretty immersed in VR pretty soon, right? Zuck put that thing out at $300, and every kid just got one for Christmas. So unless it goes by the side like the Nintendo glove, it's gonna go pretty quick.
I think between like the gaming community and the biometric fitness, health and fitness, and kind of physical therapy and rehabilitation, medical applications of it potentially.
Yes, the education is phenomenal.
Education, like all those three different areas are going to drive it. And then what you're talking about, if the price point comes down, then the adoption curve will go up. But yeah, I think it's going to be kind of weird, because I think if we hadn't had COVID, it might have happened faster. But now that everyone's sort of been forced behind a screen for so many hours a day, there's even kids, like there's more resistance. to doing stuff online. People want to be outside again. They want to be like hugging, touching, real world experiences.
Yeah, there's a lot of skepticism on the brick and mortar stores in our country right now, and I think it's super exciting. It's not going to be like what we knew 3 years ago moving forward, right? You're going to have a ton of experiences that you can go do with these brick and mortar strip malls, right? I think that's what it's going to be. Restaurants are going to have to take a notch step up. These axe throwing places, the giant beer pong places, all those things are popping up all over the country right now. And I don't think we've figured out the new model yet, but I think they're getting pretty close at this time.
Yeah.
So
I think experience is going to be like the word, right? Because it doesn't matter then if it's digital or physical.
Correct.
That's really what organizations need to be focusing on, both internally and externally.
Right. And you got to be thinking about your clicks and your bricks. They have to work together, right? I mean, they both have to, it has to be one world, and you have to represent yourself online, just like as much as possible, show your personality from your brick and mortar stores you can online. I think those things really, really important to do.
I think, I don't know if we have, I don't want to take us over time, but I think Warby Parker is a great example of a company that does that.
Yes.
And you would think they wouldn't need physical locations because the online process they've got is so smooth, but they have them. And I think that and they have them in such a way that it really is, they really do work together. There is a synergy there. It's not just superfluous that they, plopped a physical location down.
Right. And for those that you don't know, Warby Parker's the eyeglass company, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they make not custom eyeglasses, but you can go there, upload your prescription, and they'll send you, I think it's like 3 or 5 pairs of glasses.
Yeah.
And you can try on the frames and look at them and then send them back at no charge, and you just buy the pair that you want. It's a pretty nice process, actually. And
exactly. And you can even
they still have brick and mortar stores.
Yeah. Because you can do virtual try on even. But I think they realized and embraced the fact that even with something that's really successful virtually, people still do enjoy and want the physical experience.
Absolutely. If Blockbuster would have taken that advice, we might have Blockbuster instead of Netflix today, right?
Yeah,
they were
absolutely.
definitely behind the curve there. So it's really important. I think that in the 90s, the companies that did not embrace getting a website are gone. And in the 10s, the people that didn't embrace getting a Facebook, Instagram page for their company, they might not be gone, but they're not doing as well as their neighbor that did. And if you're not going to embrace VR and Internet 3.0, your brick and mortar store, I think, is going to struggle or potentially not be there as well. Because I promise you, if you ever experience virtual reality, you're not going to take the headset off and go back to your flat screen to look for something. You're going to look for it inside that VR world, and you're going to expect it to appear to you like everything else in that VR world does, right? It's not, so you're not going to be able to just have your website. You're going to have a VR experience for your brick and mortar store. And it might not have to be fully automated, gamified, but at least so that they could go in and take a look and see what's going on. And hopefully, I think we're going to see shopping in VR really, really soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think there's some cases already in place, but I think it's going to happen at breakneck speeds. These shops are going to be coming up inside the VR world fast.
A lot of the major online retailers have virtual try-on rooms.
Yes.
But again, it's going to be tricky because you can show me how it looks on my virtual self, but I still can't.
But we all know my virtual self is about 10 pounds lighter than the real me.
Right, exactly, and 2 inches tall.
Fantastic. Nicole, thank you so much for your time today. Before we go, do you have anything you'd like to leave the listeners?
It was really a pleasure joining you guys today, and, connect with me, and good luck out there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. That's it for today's show, folks. Again, if you'd like to join my text line community, it's 314-370-2871. I'll never try to sell you anything on that text line. All you have to do to join the community is ask me any question you want about business or technology, and I'll give you an absolutely unbiased answer. Get to work.